Welcome to the Design Challenge project reviews, and we had a lot of different project submissions. I'm going to give another 2 minutes for other people to be able to have a chance to join live. So sorry for my nose. My nose is a little stuffed up. I've had the cold for a couple days, so if I sound a little nasally, I'm sorry. Just trying to get over getting sick. Just feel like I've been getting sick all the time when you have little kids. Just giving another couple minutes for people to come on. We have our first project we're going to review. We're going to do the book covers first, and then we're going to move on to the t-shirt designs. So I'm going to go ahead and join live on my other computer so I can see and answer any kind of questions that may arise. So just seeing my, waiting for my live notification. There it is. So let me go ahead and join that so I'll be able to see what you guys are telling me. So go ahead and wave if you're live, if you're able to make it live. I know not a lot of people can make it during this time, but works for me. So just say hi. So about another minute, I'll give a start, but I can go ahead and do my little shameless plug here. So if you've taken any of my classes on Skillshare or Udemy, I would love a review. I really appreciate these reviews because it keeps me going, gives me feedback and some encouragement. So if you're taking my classes on Skillshare or Udemy, I would love, love, love a review. So I expect this live stream to take a little while because we have over 30 different projects submitted. So let's go ahead and get started in about 30 seconds. Hi, there's someone. I saw your wave. Okay, so let's get started with the first project, and I'm going to show you how many we have. So this is just for the book cover. Look at all those projects we get to go. Some of you guys submitted multiple images, and we'll go over each one. Some of you guys redid a book cover, and you have the original, and I wanted to show the original so people can see what you did design-wise to rethink about the cover. So this is one of my favorite project submissions, one of the first ones. And this was done, I believe, in Canva, or they found the main graphic. I asked her if she did the illustration. And I think she said she customized it a little bit, but it was originally from Canva. Because that's a really amazing, very high impact illustration she uses. And the simplicity, the simple, clean lines, this kind of circle. I'm going to go ahead and see if I have my brush tool so I can make some marks. And I need to make it a different color because it's a red book. So this beautiful kind of circle, the balance of this is beautiful. And see how the character comes out of the circle like that to create a dynamic layered feeling. So I love this illustration. There's a little bit of a drop shadow here, which adds layers without having to do drop shadow. And that's the one thing I wanted to bring up is there is no drop shadow at all used in this. There's kind of a solid ink color to indicate some kind of highlight or shadow, but there's no drop shadows. It looks super duper clean that way. And I love the typography. I love the all caps up here. And I love the font mixing right here. So you have a nice sans serif and then you have an italic script font and it pairs very well. And I love how she put it on a mock-up because now you can kind of see it and you can see the spine, you can kind of see it made a reality. So this is one of my favorites. I really can't tell you any constructive criticism because I really think it's excellent. I mean, if I were to be super picky, I might say we need a little more margin here. I can see how the publisher or the person who's going to be printing and producing the books might need a little more margin. So I just shift that down just a tad to give more margin. But other than that, I like the spine. That looks great. Beautiful. Well done, Alicia. And hi, Sandra. Got some more people joining live. Okay, so I'm going to go in alphabetical order. So now it's Chris. So Chris is a fabulous instructor. She also teaches on Skillshare. She does a lot of fashion illustration. And I asked her what she used to do this illustration, and she did this all herself in Procreate. So if you haven't played with the Procreate app, I absolutely love it for doing any kind of hand script lettering or any kind of custom illustrations. I love Procreate. I just got the iPad Pro and the Apple Pencil not long ago, and I've really enjoyed it. So this is her book cover. I have nothing to say about the illustration because I think it's excellent. I love kind of the highlights that you did. You have this kind of globe there, and you can see kind of the color kind of emanating out on her dress, and that's excellent. So in terms of balance, I like to zoom out on things to kind of get an idea of balance. And I'm seeing a little bit of a misbalance because you have this very small main character, lots and lots of background, and kind of a smaller type for the headline. And so what I would do is kind of rebalance these objects a little bit. So your main character is pretty important, but also I do notice kind of says the valley. So perhaps the background is important to indicate the valley. But I would zoom in on your subject matter to create a more of an emotional impact on the viewer. So I would definitely zoom in on her so that maybe she's this big. And then maybe you have kind of the valley coming up through here. And then it will give you a chance to do a nice big stacked typography treatment to your main headline. So perhaps you can have the secrets, and then you can have of written in like a script font, and then crescendo, and then valley, just to kind of have a much more high impact title. Because right now the title is kind of getting lost in the stars. But I also know that you did the custom stars in Procreate using a brush. That's really cool. So I love your illustrations. I would just kind of think about getting that title to pop out a little more and getting us to connect with your subject matter a little bit so we can feel really inspired to read this book. So thank you, Chris. You always do such a good job. Okay, so next. Krista. Okay, let's go ahead and open this one. I haven't had a chance. Some of these I've had a chance to really spend time with, and some of them I haven't spent a lot of time with them, so you get to see kind of my raw reaction. So I'm going to zoom in on this one. Ooh, a beautiful black and white piece, and I love the mock-up that they used. And I'm kind of looking at the typography. This looks like a really interesting read. Like, I want to read the book after looking at this cover because I kind of see some photo manipulation going on. I kind of see this woman. I see a tree. Let me get my brush tool. So I have this tree, a woman here. You have lots of different subject matters. Not one is overpowering the other. You have this wonderful right alignment that they're committing to all the way down. So that's really nice to see. Kind of, you don't have this centered and that to the left. You kind of have this wonderful right commitment. So I love the styling of this. If you look at the typography, it's kind of got a little bit of a roughness to it, a little chunkiness to it. And I think that looks really nice. And the back cover, it pairs very well with the back cover. And this photo used on the back is brilliant. I love this photo used. It really makes me wonder what this world's about, what the story's about. And the only thing I might have a problem with, I love this type. It's an interesting style, but it doesn't always match this kind of really dark, straight edge type used on the front. This is kind of feminine and soft and happy. And this is very dark and bold and military. And so I would maybe pair a different font on the back to kind of match the overall feeling of the book. And I would also make sure you probably have to use that amount of text, or if there's any way you can cut a little bit of text to make it, or reduce the size just a smidge, so it doesn't look like such a big block of copy. Even if you break it down to 2 or 3 paragraphs, it might help people feel like they want to read it instead of just an overwhelming block of copy. But I really do love the art direction on here. I think this is a beautiful dark kind of book cover. Okay, next. Christopher. I'm going to have to move a little bit faster because I have so many projects. So I know he said he wanted a little bit more direction, and I made this open-ended. I didn't give a whole lot of direction, so I think he was just kind of designing a book cover just to kind of practice. So he kind of has a layout here, and there's a lot going on. So finding ways to simplify book designs is probably the key to designing an effective book cover. So in this case, blowing bubbles, the bubbles are essential to the story. So I would keep the bubbles. The bubbles are fine. The bubbles are cool. What I would do is eliminate this little geometric pattern because it competes with the bubbles and it doesn't really tell me the story of the bubbles. So I would remove the geometric pattern. And I do like how you blocked the title out so it's not one big solid color. But if you removed that and you kind of made blowing more simple, you can probably have something to work with here. So I know you were looking for a little bit more direction in terms of the project, so maybe the next project we'll work with, everybody works with the same theme. Since this was very open-ended, it was hard to kind of come up with an idea. So I'll do that next time, Christopher, for sure. So thank you for doing a project and kind of practicing getting your layout done. All right, next. Okay, so I love this photo. I've used this on lessons and classes, so you've probably seen this photo before. But I just love that pop of orange. I think it looks fantastic. So the photo choice on this book cover, I love. And look at kind of how the type flows around the woman's arm, and that works very well. The only issue I have is maybe this W might blend in a little bit too much with her brown dress. So there's not a lot you can do with that without lightening the red color, but the red looks really good with the orange. So you're kind of, I could see why you did that and why you left it that way. You might not have a choice. You might be able to shift her over a hair because you just have this jacket. But I like the jacket being shown. So you might just want to keep it this way. I would have a little more breathing room right here. So maybe you reduce my life just a tad so you can have a little bit more breathing room by the armpit. And I like everything else. I like how you have it lowercase and then uppercase and bold and then lightweight. So you're doing contrast with your type. So it's not all the same. And with your photo, I could find maybe a way to soften the edges on your photo, maybe make them rounded, or put yourself in a circle to kind of get a little bit of a better cropping so it doesn't look like you just popped the photo in there. It's got a little bit of a cropping to it. It just kind of polish it up a little bit. And this down here is fine. I think the balance of that is great. I would make sure you put a space between your paragraphs. So just put one more space right here so that you have two separate paragraphs. And for your drop cap, I would use a sans serif font. Right now you have a script font, but I would do sans serif because that's what you've been using throughout your piece. So just kind of stick with it. It would kind of clean it up a little bit and make it more modern. But I like how you have the spine as red. I think that looks great. I love the mock-up and how that looks. Go ahead and zoom out. The mock-up looks fantastic with the red spine. See that contrast here? Very good. So excellent, excellent work. Hi, another person came in. Got 3 hellos. Okay, Danielle, let's go ahead and load them. Or Daniel, sorry. So this is really, really fabulous. So this is, and I'm trying to remember if I asked questions if that was a custom illustration or not, but I think it is. So this is a beautiful book cover. And I love the balance. Let me go ahead and grab the brush tool. So I love it when you have this square book cover and you put a circle because it breaks up this squareness. It kind of, breaks up that kind of boundary that you have. And you have that circle in the middle. It works very, 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 very well. And I love how you put your name in this color down here. And I like how it's a different color than here. So this is different than here. And I think that works super duper well. Because if that was the same color, those elements would all of a sudden be in competition. I love this little peach color used down for your name. The spine being a different color, beautiful, love it, helps it stand out. The illustrations are perfect, wouldn't touch them. In terms of criticism, in terms of like your typography, this is a pretty long block of copy. People are not going to be very excited to read that. So I would make it a shorter quote. So maybe put some quotations or put like a quote from the book, maybe make it no longer than 4 sentences. And that would help the viewer feel less, more enticed to read it. You don't want to have these big long blocks of copy and on a book. People aren't going to sit there and read the entire back. Or you could break it up into 2 paragraphs so that you make it more digestible. And I love the mock-up. That works really well with this particular thing. I would say the only little small thing, maybe close the gap a little bit here so that feels like 1 unit. Or you can do visions and then have of right here in the middle, and then pastry. So you have 3 different lines instead of having just 2. It'll kind of fill the circle out vertically a little better. But, oh, I love this typeface, by the way, that script. This is a beautiful script. So wonderful, wonderful choice and wonderful, wonderful example. Stellar, stellar job. Okay. So moving on. So we have 2 for this one. So I'm going to load up 2 images. There's an original. So this is the original cover they did. And this is a movie. It's a pretty big movie. I haven't seen the movie, so I don't know exactly what it's about. But The Fault in Our Stars, and it's by John Green, and it's a #1 New York Times bestseller. So I really love the original cover because it kind of speaks to, I believe they're teenagers. I know kind of a little bit about it. I think they get cancer. I'm not quite sure of the story. So if anyone wants to post what the story is about live so I can kind of remember what it is. But I know it's about kind of young people. And it kind of has this chalk kind of teenage, I'm going to draw in my journal type of character to it. And it's great. So this is their revision. So they definitely made it more adult, kind of more clean and contemporary with their design. And I really love the typography work. What I love as well is how they work this moon in that perfect little area between the and the fault. They have this moon there. And it makes it a part of the headline. And it works incredible. I just love kind of the way they staggered their typography, and I love how they have the name here. So in terms of type choices, I love it all. I would maybe do this in italic script, kind of maybe like a different script for that one. And then this one as well. I would just kind of test out some different scripts. But I love the blocking of this because you have a wonderful, this background is beautiful. And the way you have your subject matter right here, everything commits to a center alignment. So it's got this, it's very committal, and it makes the design, it makes your eye go here, and then it also draws you into the subject matter. So that's exactly what you want to do as a designer, is have that one focal point, one draw. You don't want to have two competing objects that are, you don't want two focal points. So that's wonderfully, wonderfully done. And I would say, let me see, yeah, I knew it's about, yeah, okay. Two teenage cancer patients begin a life-affirming journey to visit a reclusive author. And yeah, so it is about cancer, and I know it's about teenagers. So that's kind of why the original book had this youthful kind of feeling to it. And this kind of has a little bit, I can see this is maybe about people in their 20s or 30s exploring life. And this one I would think about teenagers because they kind of have that rough kind of thing. But I still absolutely love your layout and your design. So, and that photo is fantastic. So thank you. Gosh, I got a lot to cover here. Oh, here's another JPEG that I can open so you can see it a little bit better. So you can see they added a little bit of a grain texture, which adds a richness to the photo. So I noticed that too. And the lighting is so good, so excellent. Okay, next one. All right, so this is a very kind of artistic interpretation of a book cover. So this is called Murder on the Oriental Express. This is an Agatha Christie novel, who I love. I love Agatha Christie. I love her novels. And so I can really appreciate this book cover because this is kind of the style that she writes in. It's very, black and white. And I like the train there on the back, and it's very subtle. It's not just a big old train. It's kind of it's a mystery. She writes mystery novels. So they're kind of drawing you into this very small photo and making it a mystery. What's this about? And I thought this was really creative how they have murder under the railroad tracks. So it's covered up by the railroad tracks. And I thought that was a really neat interpretation. My only worry is it looks like murder on the Orient Express instead of murder. So I'd just be a little bit nervous that you wouldn't be able to see it. But I love the kind of idea of making it a mystery, like some of the type is covered, it's a mystery. So the whole concept was there. I would just be afraid that when you're on a bookshelf, people aren't going to be able to interpret that quick enough. But I do like kind of the darker take on this. Okay, got two of these. I got to go quicker. I got a lot to go through. So sorry if this is going to be long. But this is good. I love having lots to review. Okay, so these are two different options here for this book cover. So let's go. I don't know what the English says, but I think they're two totally, I don't know if they're two options of the same cover. Looks like different typography. So perhaps it's two different options. But what I do love is this, how it's divided, and it kind of breaks up the big book cover into these two nice parts. And I like the clock. I like this typography. I don't know what it says, but it's really a beautiful language, the way it's written. The blocking is nice. This isn't a nice block. And I really have no issues with it. I wonder why I guess his eyeglasses are yellow because he's worried about time. If I kind of knew a little bit more about the story, I might be able to critique it a little bit. But I love the color palette. I do. So let's do the other one. So this is another book cover option. I kind of like the other one a little bit better. So you have kind of this woman, but the way she has the Photoshop are kind of the effects. It kind of doesn't, it's not as clean. So I would almost prefer it without the woman on the phone, you know, or just have the clock, and that would look really, really neat without the woman, in my opinion. But yeah, I like the red and the clock. That looks great. Okay, moving right along. Okay, that was the same one. Oh, this is the full resolution version of that book, if you wanted to take a look. All right, Jeff, come on down. You're the next contestant. So, life skills. So, this is, you see all these life skills books. Let me go ahead and close some of these out so that you don't have to see all these over and over again. Gotta love live stuff, huh? Do 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 do. A little elevator music. Okay, there we go. Hi. Yeah, you're here. I just reviewed yours. Your Daylay's here, and I just reviewed your stuff, so you can watch the replay and see what I said. Okay, so this is Jeff's book, and so it's kind of a contemporary. I think this is the same thing. So let me go ahead and delete that one, or that one's a higher resolution. So you'll notice when you have these type of life skill books, business books, they kind of have a very simple, clean design to them, very simple blocking, and this is the case. So it definitely kind of hits on the target market and the competition. He definitely looked at his competition when it comes to these life skill books, and he did something very similar. So I do like the orange and the black. Those go really well together. They have a nice high contrast. I like how communication is diagonal. It breaks up all this kind of perfectly aligned type. It kind of breaks the mold, which is really nice. I would make sure to have a little bit more margins, and I'm probably a broken record when it comes to margins, but just kind of widen that a little bit just so it has more of a chance to breathe and look more clean. Same thing with this volume one. You didn't learn in school, volume one. Maybe there's a way we can accentuate volume one somehow, or figure out a way to break it up from that you didn't learn in school. Somehow break these two elements up, making that a lighter weight or making a different color. I don't know. But the chalkboard, all that is great. And yeah, so I would just add more margins and you have a pretty decent cover. So thank you, Jeff. Okay, Jennifer Wright. I had a best friend in high school named Jennifer Wright. That's funny. Okay, so let's go ahead and break that out. So this is nice. So letters to 6 women of the Old Testament. So I like this hand lettering typography, and hand lettering is a big thing now, especially in kind of the religious market. So I think that really speaks to your target demographic. 6 women of the Old Testament, I might just tuck that a little bit more over here, just shifting that over, making sure you have even wider margin than that. Same thing with here, I probably would make Sarah a little bit smaller so you can have a little bit more room for margin. So maybe make it about that size. But I like the illustration. I like so this is really good type hierarchy because she has one big headline. It's obviously the headline, kind of a medium size, and then this will eventually be smaller. So you have a little bit of type hierarchy. You don't have 2 text boxes that are the same size. You have, each one has its own different size and emphasis. So thank you, Jennifer Wright. That's so funny because I had a best friend named that, exactly that. So Joshua. All right, so he did this with Illustrator brush tool. He was able to do an Illustrator brush and paint it on to get kind of this ivy, I guess would be. So the painted garden, a wonderful mystery. So I think there's 2 variations. There's a sans serif, and there's kind of a illustrative print, or illustrative, I guess decorative. It would be decorative type here. And I don't know. What do you guys think? If anybody's live, what do you think? Do you like that version? Or do you like that version? I think this would be neat for the headline, but I wouldn't do it for everything. I would make that a simple type because I think it gets a little busy when you have a very decorative type used outside the headline. So I'd just be kind of careful there. I'd also put more emphasis on the size of your headline or your book cover, because your book cover is very, very important. So your book cover should be, enough to be read. And then you can have the smaller type here, just to kind of have a little bit more balance. And in terms of the illustration, I really like that. It's kind of cute. See how you can make the little eyes there of I guess it's a lion, painted garden. I had to read that in high school, I think, way back in the day. Or something. What am I thinking about? The Secret Garden. That's what I'm thinking about, The Secret Garden, if anybody had to read that in high school. So I would get rid of this little border. I think it's unnecessary. Just make it clean and get rid of the border right here. And just have it go all the way across. There's a way to put a texture here instead of stark white that might add to the mystical garden type theme. So thank you for doing a project. I like your little illustration. It's pretty neat. All right, so we have another one. Okay, so I wish I knew what this said in English, but you have your front cover here on the left. Okay, so that's your back. I would find a way to kind of crop your photo so it doesn't look like you just popped your photo in on a Word template. So just either round the corners or find a kind of an interesting way to crop it or put yourself in a circle. Sometimes I find that helps to kind of keep it a little more polished. I like this texture and I like this little gradient that kind of comes down here. You kind of have this like purple swoosh thing kind of going through. I love the texture. The typography, as far as I know, looks good. This looks like a lot of type. So I'd either make it smaller or break it up into 2 paragraphs. Same reason of the project before, just to try to make it easier to read. And this little photo of the woman, I'd find a way to screen her back a little bit or kind of work on this one. I'm trying to think if this is like hand drawn. Because I'm trying to think, because I'm seeing kind of an edge here where you kind of put the image in. So I'd soften that to make sure that doesn't look like a straight image just popped in there. Okay. Moving on down the list. Okay, so here's another one. See, I think they had 2 versions. So this is 2 versions. This is, this is the first one and this is the second one, so 2. So 2 right here. So this is a series. So we have to kind of judge these both together as a series that works together. And in terms of the color, I think that works when you have a series of books to have a totally different color for a cover so they don't confuse the first one with the second one. So those color choices are fine. I think that's great. I think in terms, let's see, what is it? It's openoffice.org. So I'm not quite sure what it teaches, but maybe it just teaches office kind of educational kind of products. But I noticed kind of a difference between the covers. This kind of has this little person symbol, and this one kind of has a lot more illustration going on. So when you do a series, you want to make sure your illustrations kind of match in style and also in size. So this is a nice size for your illustration. That looks great. And for the orange one, I would make sure you have a similar size so it's consistent. And this symbol looks so small, I almost want to ignore it. So if you make it a little bit bigger, it might help. Okay, so I'm going to have to move on quicker. Mercedes. Let's open up. Okay, so this is a book cover. 2 different versions, I think. Yes, 2 different versions. So that's anybody love the movie Gladiator? Every time I see these kind of wheat fields, I think of the movie Gladiator. I love that movie. But anyway, so Spice and Wolf, is that what it's called? It's hard for me to tell. I guess that's an S. Spice and Wolf. Spice and Wolf. Is that an S? I guess it is. Yeah, it's got to be. So Spice and Wolf. So that type is really cool, but I guess it is a G. Yeah, it's a G. I just couldn't tell for a second. Which one do you like better? Do you like this cover? Or do you like this cover? Which one do you guys like better? Do you like seeing the wolf? Or do you think making the wolf a mystery is better? Once again, kind of a theme here is make sure when you have a big block of text that you divide it or cut the copy, cut it down, finding a way to make it more appealing, maybe having quote form so you're not overwhelming the viewer. It'd be neat to kind of differentiate your spine here with something, kind of making sure that spine stands out on the store shelf. And make sure your lettering looks really good. You have kind of you could probably make that all black. And so you don't have to do any fading or shadows, or I think in this case, a glow. Because I think glows are really hard to pull off. The outer glow effect in Photoshop is really tough. I would make your title a little bigger, just so people can really read that a little better. And then I guess you did this illustration of the wolf, so that's cool. So we got an illustrator on our hands. And this might tell a little bit more of the story. So once again, break this text up a little bit. I think this is kind of a cool illustration. All right. Wow, we have so many. I'm just kind of thinking, wow, we have a lot. Okay, so this is a neat book cover. I love kind of how they illustrated the dog. So that's fantastic. I love the color. This is a beautiful color right here. And this color pairs very well with this color. So the font, the typography, the color, the illustration, they're all good. But man's best friend, a cancer cure. So what I would do is maybe make the title just a little bigger, and then make as a cancer cure a little smaller right here. And then with the dog, I mean, maybe there's a way we can, I know someone suggested maybe dividing it, make it a little lighter color, or finding a way to kind of draw the user into the dog a little bit, and kind of tell the story of what the book is about. Because right now I don't know. I know it's a story about a dog and maybe a cancer cure, but I'm not quite sure, who's the dog, what type of dog, what's the dog's role and story, kind of entice me with wanting to read the book. But I like a lot of this. So I like that. I love the type. And if you did that as a custom illustration, that's a great illustration. So good job there. So let me close some of these down and do a couple more. Okay, so there's a lot on this one, but you're here live, so I want to make sure I cover your project. Okay, so let me see if I can get all these straight. Okay, there's a couple projects here. So this is a series. So this is a series of books. So this is the first one, and you can always let me know if I mess up or say something wrong because you're live. And this is the second one. And let me see if I can find the original. Okay, that's another project. Let me see if I can find the original here. Okay, I think that is the first one in the series. So that's the first book in the series. And then the other ones were book 2 and book 3. I believe I'm right? If you could say, give me a thumbs up. Okay, so here it is. So I like this typography here. It's in a nice block type. It really draws me into the photo. I love the photo, how it has this orange up top. It also has this blue down at the bottom, so it gives this wonderful, complex, rich color profile. I even like this little stamp here. That looks good. I'd make sure it's perfectly aligned on the left and on the right, just to make sure. And I love how you commit to a left alignment all the way down to the name. So I look for that kind of thing. So I like this series so far. Let me pop in. This would be the second in the series. I think this is really well done. I know it's really hard to pull off transparencies on book covers. I would maybe not do a transparency, but that could just be up to what your client wants or your friend wants. I usually have a hard time pulling off typography and making it look good. But other than that, I like how there's, once again, checking your alignment, and you did good. So I'm proud of that. I think this is great. I really don't have any negative criticisms. I think the photo is very interesting. I would almost have a little less lightning right here, but I really love this lightning streak going down around your character. Super, super cool. I love it. So then we have the next one in the series. Let me do your next one. Close all these down. That's your next project. You have a couple projects. That's the next in the series. I wonder what it would look like. I guess you're making it a ghost, so you have to use transparency. But I would make it even more opaque, not opaque, but I would make it less transparent to kind of let a little more detail come through on the statue. But I love the clouds up here. This is excellent. The colors are beautiful. So well done. The typography is fine. I love it. Okay, so this is another one they posted. This is the original book cover from a friend of his. And here's the new book cover. So I love this image. This is a much more impactful image. I feel like I am more drawn to this book cover than I am that book cover. This looks too traditional, and it looks a little bit dated. And this looks a little bit more modern. And I would make sure that goes all the way over the D. And it would be neat to have the wing go a little bit more over the D, just so it still remains readable, but it kind of gives you that 3D layered effect. But make sure the D is still kind of readable. But I love this photo choice. I would tighten the spacing just a tad here. Maybe just eliminate that amount of spacing, just to keep this more together as one unit. But this is excellent. Okay, I think what I might have to do is make this one video and go live again to do the t-shirt designs, because I still got a couple more projects left. So Sandra, okay, the Call of the Wild. So let me take a look at this. And so when you do book cover designs and you're preparing it for the printer, one little tip is I usually put it on the right. I put the book cover on the right and the back on the left, just because that's how they like it when you get it printed. So just kind of getting in the habit of setting your cover on the right side. Oh, never mind. That's not a back. That's the template or the mock-up. Never mind. But just for other information, if you were wondering what side to put it on. So never mind, you don't have a back to this. So Call of the Wild, the journey beyond yourself. The only thing I see here is you have a line here, and it's the same as your headline, as your book title. So I would not put this on the same color as this. I would make it a solid orange bar with 0 transparency, and then put your type in white. So that is differentiated from the headline. And I would find a way, maybe you could put this in one solid box instead of having 3 rows, because it'll reduce the amount of lines that's in your design and make it a little more clean. And finding a way to get that type to pop out a little bit more over the photo. Have you tried white without using the bars? I don't know if you have or not. So just kind of experimenting. This is a beautiful typeface. I don't know what it is, but it's beautiful. So good job. All right, Sean, this is really a cool illustrative example of a book cover. So what really impressed me about this is he drew this. He hand illustrated this from scratch. And he shows your process. He shows the process in the Facebook group. And I thought that was incredible. Just look at the little red eyes here, and look at just the whole composition of this illustration and how he's right above her, sneaking up on her, and it just creates this really cool feeling. And you have the trees that just happens to sculpt the subject matter and this nice focal point. I thought this was beautiful. And the type is wonderful too. So honestly, I think this is a wonderful example. I don't have anything negative to say. I would maybe make sure there's a little less glow. There might be a little bit of a glow there. Make sure that's really, really dark, or it doesn't have the outer glow on it. And what would be really neat is to be able to do a printing effect and do a metallic, not a metallic ink, but maybe a red foil stamping on the little red type, and that so it'll shine and catch the light. That would be a really cool thing to do. Okay. There's another example. Oh, it looks a lot better here. This looks a lot better. I like this version. So I think I know what happened. He put it on the mock-up, and sometimes mock-ups can wash out your colors. So that looks better. And this looks beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. Wonderful. Who loves that? Say, yeah. Okay. Mandy likes it. And here's kind of the illustrative process. So you can see how he kind of blocked things out, and then he added detail, and then he added more detail, and you could see the process. Probably one of my favorite projects that were submitted. So thank you, Sean, for that. Wonderful illustration. All right, so the star and you, okay, this was revised. I think I have the most up-to-date version. So I love, love, love. Who loves this photo? That's an excellent photo. And I love the typography. If I were to have anything to say, sometimes this script font, it's hard to have wide spacing. You want to make sure these tails are connected somehow, whether you have to tighten the spacing and get them to connect, because right now they're not connected and it seems like they should be. So I'd find a way to connect that type to make it more uniform. You don't have to connect the T, obviously. Maybe you could draw it out like this. It'd help that feel more uniform. The spacing between here, this is a very thin weight down here. So I'd either thicken the weight so it prints better or tighten the spacing, just so you can see it a little better. But this is a wonderful book cover. Once again, the colors, you have blues, you have cool colors up top, warm colors down on the bottom. So the mix of the two warm and cool colors create a cool effect. So that's a wonderful example. All right, he did another book cover. And there's two versions. I decided to show both because I actually like the first one he did. So this is the first one he did. And I love the subject matter. And I love how they have a bar here to kind of help make this one block, make it feel like it's together. And I would mess with the headline a little bit, maybe move my over here and just kind of take a look at your type and make sure this is not, see, these are overlapping and making a cross effect with the stems of the T, and it looks a little strange. So just kind of going up and finessing your type a little bit. But I love the photo and the mood that it kind of sets. And this is the revision. So they move the subject matter up so the D doesn't cover her face, which I do like. But you need more margin here. So I would shift this over. So this is all margin. And then you can move that over a little bit. You can always go in Illustrator, create outlines, and you can take the direct selection tool or the pen tool, the subtraction pen tool, and subtract some of that tail out so it's not getting in the way of your photo. So I'd probably go back and do some stuff. Okay, moving on, we're almost done. One more project, and then we have t-shirts, which I'm going to do a separate video, I believe. Let's say book cover. Whoa, this one's cool. Okay, so this is very artistic. Herd mentality. Let me make sure there's not another one that goes with it. I think there is. Here we go. Oh, my nose is so stuffed up. Sorry, guys. I sound like really nasally. Let me sniff. Oh, I hate being sick. Oh, I hate it. Okay, so herd mentality. This is a beautiful, I keep saying the word beautiful, sorry. But everything is so beautiful. But this is a mock-up, and I love the mock-up. And I love the texture used on this book. This is a really beautiful art piece. I mean, it's art. It's not just a graphic design, it's an art piece. And they did the illustrations themselves. They didn't just grab this off of iStock photo. They did the hand illustrations. And it's very, very unique. I think the only problem I have, and it's just from doing so many book covers and actually getting them printed at a printer, is once again margin. And I know I keep a totally broken record here, but they're going to have a problem with this. So you're going to need to at least have it all the way maybe to this line right here. So right here, they're going to need to have. So let me draw a line, maybe about right here, have your type. So that means you might need to shift your illustration a little bit to make sure that works. I don't know, you can talk to the book manufacturer, but they might have an issue with that little bit going into the dip. And same thing with your spine, just make sure you have a little bit more breathing room on your spine. I know that takes away from the coolness of it, but we have to think practical when it comes to getting things printed in the design world. And sometimes that means we don't get to do the cool stuff that we want to do. But I really love this. This is cool. Just look at that. That's really neat. Very unique. Very unique. So that's it for the book covers. I'm on like 45 minutes already for this live video. So what should I do? Should I stay and do the t-shirts or should I start a new live video? What do you guys want to do? You ready for more? Let's go ahead and do it. Okay, so we have t-shirts. It'll just be a very long video. We don't have as many t-shirts. Okay, so let's keep going. All right, so t-shirt designs. I'm going to go a little bit quicker here. So leg locks. So I think they did this as a custom illustration. So the illustration is kind of really cool. You know what I would do? I would make the bones black too to make it kind of one unified illustration and to kind of keep the contrast down on here and make it look like you only use 2 inks. So that looked like put details in the bones and like little black shadows and just make it all black instead of white. But I like the typography is fine. It's fun. It's a really cool design. I like it. I would brighten your red maybe a little bit, maybe do a brighter ink for the red. But other than that, I think it's kind of cool. All right, Carlos. Carlos did one for, I think it's a school, kind of like a mock-up. He found this mock-up somewhere, but he did the design. I love the mock-up, by the way. So this is for basketball, and this is really cool. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in so you can see details on the mascot. And I don't know if he did the custom illustration on the mascot, but if he did, that's some pretty cool fangs there, pretty cool teeth. So that's perfect. And the type is fine. Everything is great. It's hard to read this, but it might just be the mock-up. And I love the lines, the color, very clean. I like how the socks are also matching, kind of a nice branded kind of uniform. So I love this. This is really cool. I like that typeface, kind of a condensed typeface. So you're able to kind of make it, stretch it out to be a little bigger than you would a non-condensed typeface. All right, Dia. Ooh, that's neat. Very contemporary. I like the geometric shapes and how you masked, I can't say that word, mask, a photo kind of within the blocks. I would totally wear this. This is cool. Who would wear this? I find it interesting that you have everything on the grid here, and then you have a couple boxes that are off the grid. So that might be by choice to kind of do some interesting shapes, to kind of shake it up because you have this triangle being created in a very square geometric grid system. So just kind of something I noticed. But who would wear that? I'd wear that. That's really neat. I would just make sure from a print production standpoint that your lines are going to be thick enough. But I'm being boring now with all my print rules. Okay. Next, this is an illustration that was done. Who loves this purple color? As a woman, I like the purple color, and I love the colors here. So the orange and the purple go together. This is supposed to be for, I think it was toddlers, just kind of a cool, fun shirt for kids. And I think it's cute. One duck, two duck. I might even do one duck, two duck up here because you have this beautiful, not beautiful, but I keep saying that word, sorry. You have this wonderful space right here where you have an opportunity to put your type. So you don't have to have your type over the illustration. You kind of have this natural dip there to use for your advantage. It is super cute. I think so too, Mandy. Okay, Christy. You're the next contestant. So just fly. It's a cute illustration. I like this. You know what I would do? I don't know. What would you guys think if like a really big chunky sans serif would look better there? Or do you like the serif font? I just feel like you have this bold illustration. You want to have a nice bold typeface with a bold weight. But I like this illustration. I like the colors. Just depends. I might do maybe a lighter gray shirt maybe to go with it, or something about black. It seems so dark with your kind of fun, whimsical illustration. Playing around with lighter colors might work. But I think it's cute. I have no problem. The type is fine. The balance is fine. Okay, Mandy, you're next. And you're live, so hi. All right, so this is a t-shirt she did. She didn't feel quite right about it, or she was still kind of wondering about it. And I think it's super cute. I really love this typography here. I love the illustration. I think when you see it on the mock-up, this illustration might come too far down. So maybe, and you have these the chopsticks coming up. So it might be hard to, you might be able to bring it up here, maybe have the chopsticks come through the type, but not block it. And so you kind of have the overlapping of your illustration and your type, and it'll bring your two blocks of items together. So you have one separate block of type and you have one separate block of illustrations. So if you bring that up and maybe put the chopsticks coming through the types, but it's still readable, it'll feel like one unit, one design instead of two separate designs. But I like the overall look on it. I like the black version. I don't know, which one do you like better? Like the white? The black? The black really stands out. But I'm a personal fan of white t-shirts, so I would buy this one. I would totally buy this, by the way. So if you want to make it a real t-shirt and put it on our Facebook page, go ahead. So there's the illustration by itself. You can see I love this kind of texture added. And I think it adds to kind of the worn t-shirt effect, which is popular. And I don't know, did you do this yourself, this little illustration? Let's see if she says yes. That'd be cool because I really like that. It's a neat geometric shape. Yep. So I think if maybe you shift this up and you find a way to get, maybe you make the chopsticks a little skinnier and they come like here. I mean, I don't know. It might be hard to not block the type. Or you can have it kind of come behind the F. So it's behind the F and then it comes through the O or something. I don't know. Maybe I'm being too crazy. So yes, you did do that. So that is a good job. So yay. All right, another project here. He also did a book cover, a couple book covers. So they just posted this today. Okay, so this is the illustration where they had a client and they wanted to put type on it, but he preferred this better. And I prefer it better too. I would make sure that somehow this is kind of a sharp cut here. So it just looks like it was cut in Photoshop and left alone. So there could be a way to fade it out with the ink, kind of fade it out, or finding a clever way to cut it where maybe it's cut around the garments. You don't have the legs, just so it doesn't look like the legs are cut off. And what do you guys think? Do you like them different colors, or would you prefer it all grayscale? And then, so they all look like one illustration. Or do you like them different colors because it brings them all out? I like this color of the t-shirt as well. So there's the illustration by itself. Here is what the client wanted. They wanted all the type, and they preferred it without the type, and I agree. I like it without the type. But, if you want to communicate a message, then you got to use type. So that makes sense. Or put it on the back. You can always have it on the back instead. I think that's it. Is that it? No, we got two more. Hang with me. All right, so zooming in on this one, this is a custom illustration. We got a lot of illustrators in this group. I'm just realizing that. I wish I was an illustrator. I am not an illustrator. I wish I was. I can kind of draw. I can kind of do stuff in Illustrator, like logo design kind of stuff, but I can't do these beautiful illustrations. I did a lot in high school, but I haven't done it in so long. But now that I have my Procreate app, I can, play around with drawing people again. I used to draw anime a lot when I was in high school. That's all I did. I didn't pay attention in school. I just drew anime. Okay, so I like the dark version. Who likes the dark version? I say, yeah. Because the light version, I don't know, it just kind of, dark version. Yeah, I want the dark version. So I think that looks great. It's a nice illustration. So that's the back. So that's clever putting it on the back because I think a lot of people don't like to have big stuff on the front. They'd rather have it on the back. That's the case for me. I don't want to wear a big old Game of Thrones t-shirt and I got all the characters on the front. I'd rather have it on the back. I don't want people to look at me and go, Game of Thrones. I want them to look at my back and say that. So I don't know if anyone feels that way. Last project. Okay. Oh, this is interesting placement. That is an interesting placement. I wonder why it's there and not in the center or somewhere else. Huh. This is interesting. I think this would make a really good print piece that you would put on your wall. You could make that canvas print. I like this kind of, oh, it's a hippo or something. That's so cute. I just saw that. It's a hippo. Yeah. You think that's a hippo? I think it is. And the leaves. This would make a beautiful printed canvas print. So I almost wonder if maybe having some kind of, instead of having a straight circle, have some kind of brushed edge to this. So it's not just a big crop circle, that it has kind of an artistic watercolor border to it. I think that would look better than having just the circle. Because then you would see this more as a watercolor artistic illustration rather than just a vector art. So that's what I would do with this particular t-shirt. And animals who aren't interested in the rat race. What I would do, let's see, what would you guys do? I'm always concerned with women's hair when it comes to t-shirt designs, especially on the back. So I like to kind of start my stuff more toward the bottom of the shoulder and go down. So I would just kind of move that down to make sure that people with like me who have long hair, a lot of times those little slogans are not able to be read. So just thinking about kind of who's going to be wearing the t-shirt. Okay, so that's it. That's everybody. Woohoo! So wow, this was a lot. This was a lot of stuff. So thank you for bearing with me for almost a full hour. So hopefully you're either watching this live or you're going to watch it later. If you're watching it later, I would love a review on my Skillshare or my Udemy classes. If you've taken any of my classes and you've enjoyed them, please, please, please leave a review. It really helps me keep going, helps me do this for a living. I love to teach. I love to help people. That's why I love doing these live videos. And just my little shameless plug, I got a new class coming out. It's going to walk through the entire branding process for this lotion brand. And I'm just kind of showing you a few things. I'm currently filming the Adobe XD section where we do a web layout, and we're doing kind of some basic blocking. And we do kind of this entire brand. We develop it all. We do the logo. We do social media posts. We do the 3D rendering of the bottle, the package design, the web design. So that class is coming out not next week, but the week after that. So mid-February, this is going to be the class to take because it's going to be probably 6 or 7 hours. I'm going to walk through how to do everything in a branding project, everything. So I wanted to do one class that walks through it all. It's going to be an intermediate level class. So you're going to want to know the pen tool. You're going to want to be comfortable with some very basic about the layering system, but it's a class to look out for. I'm pouring all my love and all of my attention to this class. I want to teach all the gritty details, like also being able to save and export files for the printer, how to use PMS colors, how to do cropping, all those little things that are sometimes left out of classes because it's boring. But I wanted to show you every single step, all the process behind it, so you can be able to do this for client work and you can get those really big branding projects that can make you some money. So anyway, so that's my little shameless plug. I've enjoyed it. Thank you guys for staying tuned for the entire hour. I love you guys. I'm going to be announcing the next project next week. I'm going to do another poll to see what you guys want to do next. So love you guys. Love you all. Thank you so much.